Welcome to another episode of our series. Today we are going to look at a little bit complex subject, so it is not going to be easy to understand. But as most of the topics, it is also a very important topic and basic of our existence. The evolution of consciousness. That is the topic which we are going to look today. And first we will see John C. Eccles, his view of biological view of consciousness. An introductory statement for the evolution of consciousness is that one cannot expect that consciousness came to higher animals as a sudden elimination. Rather, as with life originating in a prebiotic world, it would be anticipated that consciousness came secretly and surreptitiously into a hitherto mindless world. Moreover, as we attempt to discover evidence for the consciousness from the study of animal brains and behavior, we can only assess probability. We search for manifestations of consciousness in the mammals because we recognize it as central to the ongoing human experiences, the qualia, that fill our waking life like a rich tapestry replete with feelings, thoughts, memories, imaginings, and sufferings. Our experience is uniquely ours, but we are rescued from solipsism by communication with other human beings, by language and other subtle creations such as music and gesture, and by sharing our immersion in a rich inherited culture. The cerebral cortex, with synaptic machinery of its dendrons, can be regarded as a functionally effective neural design that evolved in natural selection as a purely material structure for the efficient performance of the cerebral cortex in integrating the increased complexity of neural inputs that resulted from the evolutionary advances in receptors for special senses like sound, special senses, light, sound, touch, movement, and olfaction. The hypothesis is that biological evolution introduced in the neocortex the design of apical dendrites that is recognized as dendron and that had as a side effect the capacity for interacting with the world of the mind. And so psychons came into existence. Thus, it is sufficient for the emergence of consciousness. It will be noted that hypothesis is restricted to the role of the cerebral cortex in providing an explanation of how in the evolution the cerebral cortex came into interact with the mind world. The actual experiences, qualia, provided by the mind world, psychons, light, color, light, color, sound, touch, taste, smell, pain, intentions, feelings, and memories in all of their uniqueness are not explained. Thus, conscious experiences would give evolutionary advantage. This simple consciousness need not be an enduring entity, but may merely exist from moment to moment, according to the activities of the cerebral cortex. The brain would provide an enduring memory that gives the animal a continuity of behavior and of feeling of existence. Nevertheless, the conscious experiences can be assumed to include quite complicated qualia of devoted attachment and enjoyment as well as pain. Jennifer Jiggly, Planetary. The notion that human consciousness has evolved is a largely undisputed claim. However, the notion that human consciousness is currently evolving in such a way that we can consciously participate in this process is an emergent theme in academic research. Evolution is, in this view, neither progress nor development, but crystallization of the invisible in the visible. This is by Gebser. The spaceless and timeless phenomena arise from the vegetative intertwining of all living things as realities in the egoless magic, that is consciousness, sphere. earthbound and earth imprisoned natural primal, requiring the almost superhuman attempt to be free from the fusion with nature. This is by Gebser. Indian cultural period during the magic myth transition. Earth as Maya, as illusion. Spirit as home. Internalization of the rhythms of nature through poetic speech. Development of spiritual practice or yoga. Sanskrit as complex language development. And integral consciousness will become the basis of an entire harmonization of life through the total transformation, unification, integration of being and nature. This is by Aurobindo. Key features of mythic consciousness: the emergent awareness of the inward turned world of south, the development of complex mythology requiring imagination and a new degree of cognitive coherence, the development of astronomy, calendars, and other complex mathematical systems. This new consciousness became hybridized with several other characteristics. The awakening of the independent ego or individualism, the heroes, the birth of rational philosophy in Greece through Thales, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, the inner directness towards self-knowledge, the beginnings of the axial age with birth of several major religions, the shift from picture-based writing to more abstract writing using Greek alphabet, beginnings of formal mathematics with Pythagoras, the development of the world's first democratic state in Athens in 500 BCE, followed by the formalization of politics and legislation, origins of formal education in 4th century BCE with Plato's Academy and Aristotle's Lyceum, showing the first seeds of higher education. Then Ulrich J. Manharov, Gebser and Mother's views, he is saying, Gebser's view: the new attitude will be consolidated only when the individual can gradually begin to disregard his ego. Consciousness of self was the characteristic of the mental consciousness structure. Freedom from the I is the characteristic of the integral consciousness structure. The undivided ego, free person who no longer sees parts but realizes itself, the spiritual form of being of man and the world, perceives the whole. The definity of present before all origin, which suffuses everything. For someone able to place the whole ahead of his ego in his daily affairs. For someone able to act out of ego, freedom, the world and even his daily life will become transparent. And when this happens, the events and phenomena of his surroundings will set themselves right. Both social and technological systems, which result from an overemphasized rationality, whose deficient emphasis has made them possible, will structure themselves since they are incongruous with the new mode of realization, restructurization of the world. Then Matthews Cornelison, he talks about Sri Aurobindo's view. In Vedic ontology, from which Aurobindo derived his concept of consciousness, consciousness is not only seen as an individualized awareness, it is the very essence of everything in existence, and as such not only the source of individualization and the sense of the self, but also formative energy. Consciousness is not only the power of awareness of self and things, it is or also has a dynamic and creative energy. It can determine its own reactions or abstain from reactions. It can not only answer to forces, but create or put out from itself forces. Consciousness is Chit, but it's also Chit Sakti. Awareness also, but also consciousness force. Consciousness is moreover not considered a simple yes-no phenomenon, that is either there or not, but as manifesting in hierarchy, ranging from the seeming obliviousness of matter below to the seemingly superconscient spirit above. All three aspects of consciousness, its cosmic nature, its energy aspect, and its ability to differentiate itself into varying forms and degrees, combine to produce the process of involution and evolution of consciousness. that have given our world its particular character. Consciousness is a fundamental thing, the fundamental thing in existence. It is the energy, the motion, the movement of consciousness that creates the universe and all that is in it. Not only the macrocosm, but the microcosm is nothing but consciousness arranging itself. For instance, when consciousness forgets itself in the action, it becomes apparently unconscious energy. When it forgets itself in the form, it becomes the electron, the atom, the material object. In reality, it is still consciousness that works in the energy and determines the form and evolution of form. When it wants to liberate itself slowly, evolutionarily, out of matter, but still in the form, it emerges as life, as animal, as man, and it can go on evolving itself till further out of its involution and become something more than mere man. Consciousness is not seen as something produced by the brain or limited to humans, but rather as a fundamental aspect of reality, if not the very essence of it, as one of the oldest Upanishads, the Brihadaranyaka, says about the ultimate reality. This great being, infinite, without bounds, is just a mass of consciousness. Consciousness is not possible without delight in its own existence, nor can there be delight that is not consciousness. The supermental knowledge, as Aurobindo describes it, is based on a fully conscious identity with the whole. It knows the universe as if from inside, whereas one could say that it knows the world in the way the divine knows the world. And if there is limitation of knowledge or power, it is willed and conscious diminution for the sake of harmony and the development of the whole. Then Mother's agenda, of where I will quote Mother's view on this. It's as if the consciousness were no longer in the same position with respect to things, so they appear totally different. The ordinary human consciousness, even the broadest, always occupies the center position, and things exist in relation to that center. In the human consciousness, you are in one point, and everything exists in relation to that point of consciousness. But now the point is no longer there, so things exist in themselves. My consciousness is within the thing. It is not something that resists. Before, each thing was separate, divided, unconnected with others, and very superficial. It does not feel like that anymore. It mainly gives a feeling of intimacy. That is to say, there is no distance, no difference, no something which sees and something which is seen. What I mean by the oneness is that you can't distinguish between conceiving the action, the will to act, the action itself, and the result, all is one simultaneous. But how? It can't be explained. It simply can't. You can get a glimpse of the experience, but ultimately it is inexpressible. Our habitual state of consciousness is to do something for something. There used to be a kind of mainspring which had its reason on the earth and so persisted. Do this to arrive at that, and this leads to that. It is more subtle, of course, but this mainspring suddenly seems to have been abolished. Now a kind of absoluteness prevails at each and every second, in each movement, from the most subtle, the most spiritual, to the most material. The sense of linking has disappeared. That is not the cause of this, and this is not done for that. There is no there. There one is heading towards. It all seems an absolute, innumerable, perpetual, and simultaneous. The sense of connection has gone. The sense of cause and effect has gone. All that belongs to the world of space and time. I have a feeling that to have access to the highest and purest power, the very notion of result must disappear completely. The supreme power has no sense of result at all. The idea of something behind or ahead in time, and so on is it's rather a truth changing from immutable eternity into eternity of manifestation. What we call concrete or concrete reality, yes, that gives you the sense of real existence. That particular sensation has to disappear and be replaced by it's beyond words. It's all light, all power, all intensity of love at the same time, and the fullness. It's so full that nothing else can exist beside that. And when that is here, in the body, in the cells, it's enough. to direct it onto something, on something, or something, and everything falls immediately into place. So, in ordinary terms, it heals. The illness is cured. No, it does not cure. It cancels it. That's it. The illness is made unreal, for it is not the action of a higher force through matter into others. It's a direct action from matter to matter. What people usually call healing power is a great mental or vital power, imposing itself despite the resistance of matter. That's not at all. So the case is here. So the case is not at all the case here. It is the contagion of vibration. So it is irrevocable. So with this visionary words of the mother, we will end this episode. It could be a bit complex, but I have given the references in the end. You can go through it. Many books which are available on this subject later. But this is the key to many things. But you need not, for realization, for enlightenment, you need not go through all this. But if you are interested, you can find out how consciousness works. So I have given the references in the end. Stay with me for another episode. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.